I mean, they've got a little bit of each
Right.
other. But my manifestor son was just about to turn 5. So we've got a 4-year-old and we've got a baby. And you just couldn't tell him what to do. Like just everything made him so irrationally angry. And I thought, I don't know what to do about this. And when we learned human design and his type and his aura, it just all made so much more sense, right? It just became so much easier. Not like overnight, right? That of course we all have our own conditioning and our own things to work through, but having that understanding when he was still pretty small and 4 years
If
old.
I had known my daughter was a manifester before, I learned when she was like 18.
Yeah.
Like would have saved a lot of books that I actually traumatized her by the whole bookshelf I had of parenting your strong-willed child when you're, all the things that basically told her that I thought she was horrible. I didn't think
I bought that same book.
How to deal with it, right?
So I bought that exact same book for that exact same child. It's just the manifestor aura. And so when we learned about that, we started to shift the way that, we communicated with him. It was more about informing and less about controlling and less valuing respect and obedience, right? They're here to do something completely different. And so luckily for my kids, I was thinking about this before we got on the call. Most of their adults in their lives are pretty well versed, but we do parent them in a way that honors their energy and honors that they're very different people. And I think that has been helpful, especially having a rarer type, having a manifestor that is it's a memorable child.
For those in the group who are new to this, and manifestors are only 9% of the population. And that internal nonverbal creative flow does not like to be interrupted, and asking them questions, telling them what to do just completely throws off their trust in themselves. And so I'm curious, because I don't think we talked about it. Does he go to traditional school?
No, I couldn't do it. So, and it's so interesting that you mentioned like not interrupting the creative flow, because one of the rules I had in my house from the time he was tiny, like just an intuitive, like it has to be this way, was never interrupt play. Never interrupt play, no matter what, never interrupt play. And so my kids know the rule. Like if we accidentally interrupt them, they will tell us, hey, never play, because the flow state was so evident and obvious. I mean, from the time that he could like move his hands, right? He would just always get into these states of flow. And so I would observe it myself being a stay-at-home mom. And I would tell everyone in the household, never interrupt play. Like if it's bedtime, if he needs to go to the bathroom, let him finish the flow and wait because it's not going to last, 2-3 hours. He's in something, right? And in a few minutes you can hop in. But yeah, never interrupt play is one of our still. And
is that do you only honor that for him, or is it true for?
No, it's for everyone, but he was the one who made it obvious for us. It was it was so clear when he was in a state.
So when you found all this and you realized how much it made things sense for you, I can totally relate to that, because that's really what cemented it for me too, was understanding my daughter better. And it's funny how we often, as projectors, right? Because I don't think I even said it, you're a 1-3 splenic projector. And as a projector mom, I can relate to, all moms like to find things that help their kids, right? That's a certain degree true for any type, I think. But as projectors, we learn so much by what we do with others, right? And
I also wanted to answer your question about school. So that was very splenic for me. And I don't know if this shows up in source material anywhere, but I know that when you're pregnant, you share an aura. And I know up until the age 7, like your kids are identifying with you, part of who they are. And so my spleen, I feel, would not let me do anything, right, that was mainstream for my kids. Like natural childbirth, I had this like very clear knowing when I was pregnant of what I should and shouldn't eat. cravings never bothered me. Like it was all very, very and very clear for me, and where it wasn't, right? Where it wasn't before. And then as I was pregnant, I said, I don't think I can do it, right? I don't think I can send my kids to school. But as soon as my son was born, and a stepdaughter at the same time, who was 9. So as soon as my son was born, I'm observing her and her process in school, and she's a manifestor also.
Oh my God.
And my son being born, right? And I just could feel his personality through him, right? And I could just see what would happen, if he were in that type of structure. And I couldn't do it. And this is the phrase I use a lot, which I mentioned to you before. Body won't go, right? Like I can make it logical, I can make it rational, I can believe everything that other people tell me. Like I can say, that makes total sense. Of course, yeah, he's going to have to do this in the future, but I couldn't do it. There was every time I've thought about it, I'll think it through and maybe I'll make a decision either way, but then my body won't go with me. I've never been able to send my kids to school. And that's not to say anything negative about school. It's just my energy and the way that I'm set up and designed, their energy, the things that my ex and I do for a living, being able to work from home. It was just, this is what it's going to be. And we never saw another reasonable or logical path. They have been to learning communities that are very strong on self-directed learning. They've never attended any kind of school.
Oh, wow. That's great. I don't think you and I talked about that before. Yeah. And my ajna, I already saw, that's like, I would have in the past times say my ADHD was already like thinking of the next question. I'm glad you brought us back, but I really have realized it's in my design that I just kind of think all over the place. But I love that this phrase of yours, body won't go. And I love that despite having that, you also have, an undefined head and ajna, but which I do as well. But I think the conditioning that I had was so strong to use my mind. And I think it's a generational thing too, but I'd always, like, my mind would always tell my body. It was, I felt the same thing when my daughter, would not want to get on the school bus and she'd be crying. And I knew that before having a child, I'd always thought, well, environmentally speaking, we can't all drive our kids to school because it's bad for them. And I'd had all these mental ideas that then I felt like I was supposed to just power through. And I love that you were already, as a new mom, that in touch with your body. And I think that's one of the beautiful things I see about parenting now versus, I could be your mother. I mean, you were born after I was already married the first time. So, it's a different generation. And I just love seeing what is happening now as more and more conscious parenting is evolving. And it's really interesting to me to think about what that's going to mean for this next generation.